become a better version, how to be this, how to glow up, how to be a hot girl, how to have transformation. At some point, we have to look at our efforts and things that we're putting in if we're still looking these things up, if we still need to rebrand and reinvent ourselves every new year. What if I told you that all of your productive tasks and productive efforts are really sabotaging your success? What if I told you that you're actually going through pseudo productivity because you haven't addressed your true fear of being seen? What if I told you you're doing your productivity wrong and it's actually just sabotaging your growth? In this episode, we're going to discuss the productive tasks and the productive things that we feel like are helping us to our dreams and our goals. But here we are looking up another video on how to achieve our dreams, how to become living proof, how to become this, how to better ourselves, how to change our life in 2025, how to reinvent ourselves, how to rebrand ourselves, how to become a better version, how to be this, how to glow up, how to be a hot girl, how to have transformation. At some point, we have to look at our efforts and things that we're putting in if we're still looking these things up, if we still need to rebrand and reinvent ourselves every new year. And what if I told you that your productivity tasks are the real things that's sabotaging your success? What I'm saying is a lot of us have these great productivity habits and these productivity tips and this, that, and the other to achieve our goals, to achieve our dreams. But at the end of the day, when we look at it, it doesn't move the needle. And what does move the needle mean? It really just means take action. It makes change. It makes growth. Just think about the meter on, what is it? The odometer? Speedometer? Odometer. Speedometer. Okay, the needle on your car, right? If you press on your gas while your car is still in park, where are you going? Where are you going? That needle's going to shoot all the way over, but then guess what? It bounces right back to zero, right? Versus when you press on the gas and your car is in drive, that needle moves, and then you're slowly increasing. Don't speed. You're slowly increasing to a safe 40, maybe a 50, 60 on the highway. But you're at a safe speed and it stays there. And guess what? Your car keeps going forward. Your car keeps moving forward. But how many of us are doing so many productive tips and productive tasks and have all of our productive efforts, but our needle's not moving? And I like to say that it's a coping mechanism for fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of the unknown. So we cope with busying ourselves with these productive tips and habits. We busy ourselves with dotting our I's and crossing our T's, but we never take actionable steps. So I'm going to lay out 6 productive tips and efforts that your intentions may be well, but it might just be sabotaging your success. Right? Number 1, we confuse doing something with actually making progress. All right? We love to be busy, booked and busy, but busy doesn't mean productive. Busy doesn't mean you're actually creating the result that you need. Busy could just be organizing. You could make yourself busy just reorganizing something, rewording this document, and I'm good for that. The podcast, YouTube, my business, all of them went through a phase of, let me go ahead and organize the files on my computer. Let me go ahead and set myself up. That way when I get the ball rolling, I won't have any hiccups. Everything's going to be exactly where I need it. Not only did it never stayed that way, but also it delayed my start time. Always. It always delayed my start time beyond what it needed to do. All right? Because you can organize your files. You can do this. You can rework on something so many times. And it never creates the momentum for you to actually start or keep going. I think of it as fluff. Like, usually I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school and we actually wrote papers, no shade to the younger generation, but my brother, I don't remember the last time he told me how to write a paper. No, sorry, off topic. But I remember when I used to get my papers, my teacher, they would say, good. When you turn in the revisions, you don't turn in the final project yet. You're just turning in the revision. So like every time I got my revision back, my teacher would write things like good, not needed. Like he'll circle like a big chunk of it and say not needed, repetitive, this, that, and the other. And I had one teacher that was just like, remove the fluff. And I was like, remove the fluff? What does that mean? And so I asked him, I was like, what is this remove the fluff? And she was like, this unnecessary stuff, unnecessary jargon that's not really helping the story. It's more like a list of fun facts. But she was like, at this point, you need to replace it with more information that's concrete. Right now, she's like, I feel like you didn't know what to talk about, so you started repeating things and you just added unnecessary good jargon. If you ask my auntie, she would just said it's straight rubbish, right? And so we have a lot of fluff in our productivity ways. We like to mark busyness as productivity, the reworking plans, the organizing, all these meticulous things that if we ask ourselves, if I put this thing aside right now, is it going to hinder my process or my momentum? 9 times out of 10, no. Reorganizing your drawer before you start your business is not going to hinder anything. Reworking those files before you start the podcast or the YouTube is not going to fix anything. It's going to be nice over time. Maybe when you have downtime after starting and getting it out there, then yeah, cool, you can do it. But I tried to organize things before even starting. I don't even know what I'm organizing. I don't even know what this needed. Remember when I told you, trying to prepare and expect every twist and turn before you start? It never works out the way you want it to. And all this does is provide a pseudo sense of validation. We're conjuring up a sense of validation with busyness work. We're allowing ourselves to have the illusion of productivity so that we can feel good, so that we can feel like we're working towards our dreams. We're reworking these things and we're tweaking, we're doing this, that, and the other. But guess what? The needle's never moving. Number 2 is going to be the over-research phase, the over-planning phase, and marking it as work. I'm working. You're researching. You can only research so much before starting. You can only Google so many hypothetical situations before starting. And it will cause you to be in an endless loop of researching. You're stuck in the research phase. You feel like you're being productive, but really you're just in that endless loop of researching, trying to gather all this information, trying to have this false sense of productivity because you're looking up what you're working towards. You're looking up how to start a business. You're looking up how to switch to job or career. You're looking up how to start a YouTube. You're looking up how to start a podcast. You're looking up all of these things, but you're never taking action. And like I said, it gives a sense of pseudo productivity, but it's not being productive if it never causes you to take a lick of action. Not one step. All you're doing is clicking away, scrolling on your phone, gathering up resources, probably going back to the first tip, organizing everything that you research and plan, gathering things and putting it here, putting it there, reworking here and reworking there. But what action have you taken? I told you guys, I'm always tell you guys, the podcast idea came to life in August and it did not hit the airwaves till December. Yes, I was doing some recordings in the middle, so I try not to say the time was wasted. Oh, but best believe I was researching. I was researching how to be a podcast host. I was researching how to gain a following with a podcast. I was researching the best platforms for the podcast. I was researching we already talked about this. I was researching the best equipment for the podcast at one point. I was researching this, that, and the other. At some point, I was researching who was meant to be a podcaster, who was meant to host a podcast. And I was not moving my needle. One could say I wasn't even moving my needle by recording all those episodes and not posting them, because what was that doing for my podcast? And until they hit the airwaves, until I hit publish, they were not doing anything. So how many of you guys are stuck in that endless loop? And I'll tell you this was for me, let it resonate, but I realized my constant research phase, my need to overplan and my need to over-research was just me trying to conjure up certainty. It was to compensate for the uncertainty of starting. So if I can gather as much knowledge as possible, I can decrease the gap of uncertainty. That's all I was trying to do. I wasn't actually saying it, but over time, having that self-awareness, looking at it, working on myself, I was like, the only reason I stay in this research phase so long is to try to undo that level of uncertainty, to lower the level of uncertainty, to lower the level of risk or whatever you want to call it, and mask it with knowledge. But that's not how it works. You know how you lower and decrease the level of uncertainty? You start and you take steps and you face every piece of uncertainty step by step. I had a goal of undoing uncertainty by overcompensating with excess information. And guess what? It never moved my needle. It never had me take the steps that I needed to. It never put me in places that I thought I would be in, I dreamed to be in, I knew God had in store for me. It never did that. It kept me in the same spot over and over and over again. Oh, sorry. A song popped up in my head, but it's not over and over. It's fine. It's fine. All right? Going off of research. A hoarder of knowledge. That's number 3. A hoarder of knowledge. This was me. This was me, okay? I went from being a scholar to being in the real world, the real life of my industry, and feeling like I know nothing. What were these 4 years for? So you know how I tried to compensate? By buying every body book possible. I kid you not. Every body book possible. And then I narrowed down and I was like, okay, I want to work in stretch and mobility. Every stretch, mobility, fascia, movement book possible. I wanted to overcompensate with knowledge, and I became a hoarder of knowledge. Now, I'm not allowed to buy any more body books, okay? I am not allowed to. No. I must finish every single body book I have in this house. I have 2 bookshelves worth of them, and then my office has floating shelves. Every floating shelf has them. I have a rolling cart with the ones that are like essential, like I actually love. I refer to them all the time. And then there's some in storage, right? Because I realized, yes, I learned a lot. I learned so much in school. And I read a lot of those books. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't shelf help. We didn't fall into that. But we still had a problem with hoarding knowledge. I learned a lot from a majority of those books. I do have a couple more I need to read and finish. But I realized nothing actually gave me that confidence. Nothing actually gave me reassurance in what I learned. Nothing actually grew until I actually started practicing my knowledge. And that's the thing. Knowledge is a powerful thing, but every powerful tool is useless if it's never used. So how many of you are over consuming knowledge, hoarding in knowledge, but then never taking that action to apply it? Your tool not powerful. Your tool is collecting dust. From when did I start my business? I'm trying to think. 2022. Okay, no. It was the end of 2021, but I say 2022 because that's when I got my first client. But from 2020, I graduated December 2020. I started my business, LLC, all that stuff. I was fully set up by end of 2021. 2022, I was in full effect, ball rolling. I would say 2021, even though I started my business on paper, 2021, I was posting about it. That was my year of hoarding knowledge. That's when I started buying the most books. And it's not just books. I was following all the people I could see in this industry. I was trying to find every mentor under the sun, and that was a whole nother thing in itself. I was trying to just gather information, every piece I could get possible before ever taking a step. So I was like, okay, so when I'm working on someone, I should work on it like this because this is what someone is doing here. And then remember this, that when you're working on someone, remember this page 79 at part A through D, this says this here, X, Y, Z, LMNOP. Put it all together and bam, I have the perfect business. In case you're wondering, it didn't work out. It didn't work out in that way. I learned the most, I gathered the most, and I felt the most confident when I was working on my clients. When I was actually like, okay, here we go. Serratus anterior. I know about this muscle. I can do organ insertion, this, that, and the other. But now I actually have my hands moving, this, that, and the other. Working on the scapula. Okay, now I actually have my hands here applying things. You can actually, it sounds wrong, like not playing with people in the sense of like just trying different things, experimenting on people. No, I knew what I was doing, but like you could actually play with the movement and feel it. Yes, I know the movements of the scapula. I can read it. I can say it out loud. But when you actually touch someone and actually, okay, here we go. This is the elevation, depression of the scapula. Then you look at it and you say, oh, when they lift their arm, it's not doing the full movement. It's not going through that full range of motion. You don't get that from a book. You don't get that observation and that actual hands-on experience from a book. And I could confidently say that it's going to be like that for every industry that you go into. You're going to learn a lot in college, that course, wherever you're gathering your knowledge from. But the application process is going to also be a new learning curve because you have to apply that powerful tool that you have and actually have the application effect to it. The body industry, I would definitely say is very prevalent there because like I said, like depending on what, even trainers, like, yes, you know your muscles do this function, but then when you're actually looking at someone, or let's say they have uneven hip hike, right? I can look at hip hike in a book. I can tell you the causes of hip hike. I can do X, Y, Z, elemental P you need me to do a hip hike, right? I have certifications that talk about it. I have degrees that talk about it, all this stuff, right? But it wasn't until I actually had my first client that had like severe hip hike. And I was like, oh, so that's what it looks like. And then you start kind of playing with range of motion and you're like, oh, so in this range, the hip hike kind of tilts the pelvic into an interior tilt. Oh, but on this way, it tilts it back in a posterior tilt. Oh, so now it's causing a chain effect to the shoulder and up. Like, yes, the book can lay that out, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't grasp it and really retain it until I started seeing it and working with it. So how many of you guys have this powerful tool and you're like, my tool's not tooling. My tool's not working. I'm still in the same position, but I have all the books I need. I'm still in the same position, but I have all the courses and I went to every convention possible. Because you're not using your powerful tool. You're just hoarding knowledge. And like I said, now at this point, the knowledge, the tools, whatever it is that you think is going to set you up for greatness will never do anything if you don't take the action with it, if it's never used. Number 4, you are burnt out in the wrong space. What do I mean by this? You're burnt out. Valid, 100%. But why are you in that industry that was never meant for you? It was never aligned for you. God never called you there. Of course it was hard. Of course it was an uphill battle. Because you forged your way into a path that wasn't meant for you. You forged your way into an industry that wasn't meant for you. You called yourself this. You tried to fit it's almost like the kitty blocks, the shapes. It's almost like you as a triangle forced yourself into a circle hole, and you're like, ooh, I feel beat up. I feel tired. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. Everything is hard. There's so much resistance. That was never for you. That path was never for you. And 9 times out of 10, you do it because you see someone being successful in their own path. And you're not trying to, at this point, you're not focused on your path. You're not focused on what aligns with you, what God has for you. You're just trying to mimic someone else's success. And I like to say it deeper. You like to mimic other people's blessings. You like to mimic other people's gifts. And you like to mimic other people's fruit. But let me tell you something. God's favor, the fruit doesn't lie in the gift itself. That's not how it works. It's not, oh, this person with the gift of the working with the body, gift of knowledge, gift of all these gifts, right? This person with the gift is going to always have the gift of, is always going to have the fruit of success. Is always going to have the fruit of this, that, and the other. That's not how it works. God gifts us with so many different things. Think about the person, a great example, Miss Rachel, right? That lady has a gift with children, right? In case you're wondering, she was already working with children before she was hello, right? Miss Rachel, there's a lot of people that's like, oh, she's making money off of talking to babies on YouTube. And then they try to start it and then it doesn't work. They start the channel. You don't even get past the 10th episode. You get burnt out. You're like, this is crazy. This is dumb. You don't even like kids. You don't even have a gift to work with children. But you saw her success and you wanted to mimic that. Right? Clearly, I'm tapping back into my nanny brain because I literally thought of Miss Rachel. I feel like there was other options I could use. But I've actually know people like nannies, respectfully, they got into the nanny industry because they saw, I have one friend that got into the nanny industry because she saw how much I was making and I knew she didn't like kids. And I told her, I was like, there's other ways to make money. And she was like, yeah, but you're literally home by like 2 or 3. Like, you just play with a baby. You don't have to worry about no one talking back. Like, girl, you got it good. I'm like, all right, whatever, right? Hated it. She's like, oh my God, they demand so much. And not the baby, the parents. The parents demand so much. And like, the baby doesn't give me a break. And this, that, and the other. I'm like, and I truly believe children know when you're genuine. So that baby was giving her a time, okay? He was giving her a run for her money. I genuinely believe children just feel it. They feel the love. They feel the I don't know. I just love me some little munchkins. I do, okay? But she then tried to do the YouTube thing with Miss Rachel. She was like, well, since I was a nanny, I can do it. I know what makes baby laughs. And maybe I was just talking about her with that whole example because she only got to 10 episodes. She got to 10 episodes and she felt burnt out. She's like, this is stupid. I am so sick of doing the stupid voice, this, that, and the other. And the only thing I could think of, I'm like, that lady, Miss Rachel, has a gift with children. She is using her gift to help many parents get some work done. She's helping kids, this, that, and the other. And she's still going. I can't say she's not burnt out. I don't know that lady personally, but she's still going, right? And so, yeah, she found success and probably wealth and all these things off of it. But it started off as a gift, a love for children. And so you can't mimic the fruit itself. You have to work at the gift. You have to work at what God has given you. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, they want to mimic the success, and now you're burnt out in a space that you were never meant to be in. You try to become successful with someone else's blueprint and wonder why it's an uphill battle.
At long last! And the secret formula is 1 bottle of molting lotion, take passport photo, get new safe travel size. This isn't the secret formula. It's a to-do list.
Because like I said, the fruit that we see other people have, the success, the family, the love, whatever the fruit is not based off the gift or the assignment that they have. It's how diligent they work at it, how they use it.
Trust me, you gon' see the fruits of your labor. Trust in the King and my focus on laser. Walking in purpose, I'm blessed and I'm favored.
It's about the application of it. Not just the fruit itself is tied to gift for children. And that's the example we use. So how many of you are exhausted and burnt out and you will have to go through a season of just undoing, just to shed everything that you try to forge and everything that you try to do at your own will? You will have to go through that season of silence and ask God, what do you have in store for me? What have you given me that I can use? Because I don't know about you, but I read my Bible. And God said he's given us the ability to produce wealth, as it was for our ancestors, as it is for us today. But that doesn't mean we're going to get it how the Joneses got it. That doesn't mean we're going to get it how the next person got it. You want it to be authentic. You want to be authentic to your journey and to what's passionate with you. If someone told me, yeah, you're going to become wealthy off the makeup industry, I'm going to look at them and be like, let's try that again. Yes. We want wealth in different ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. But I also know I have no gift, no talent, no desire, no will, no steps on that path. That can't be for me. That was not from God. That was not. And I'm going to decline it. right? Where someone says helping people start aerial, working with children, helping people feel better in their body, helping people become living proof mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I have actual proof that these are gifts that God gave me. I have actual proof that these are things that actually align with me. And if I had to put in that diligent work, it won't be as much as an uphill battle. Still going to be work. Faith without work is dead. It will still be work, but it won't be so much resistance because I'm not trying to force myself in a space I was never meant to be in. Talk to me. All right. Number 5 is never transferring what's in your mind to paper. Oh, I'm still working on this. I'm still working on this one. I'm still working. Let me cook. All right. I now walk around with a journal. I have several journals. If you ever see me, ask me what journal I have today. I walk around with this one just for inspiration. And then I have like a little notepad for when I get an idea, I have to write it down. I will put it in my notes, but I always lose it. I don't know how. I know it's in the notes, right? I don't know. Pen and paper is just better for me. Right? So a lot of us get great ideas and we never write them down, and then we can never take we never take an action because we're like, dang, I had that idea. And I don't know about you, but I will spend a couple of days like, what was it? Was it this? Trying to conjure up that idea again, right? But let me tell you something. You will never see growth if every idea you get, you let fly away. Or it doesn't slip away, but you keep it in your mind. Because yes, our dreams, our visions, our goals are very safe in our mind. Safe from criticism, safe from risk, safe from the fear of failure. They're perfect, they're in there, and they're just there. And that's it. A fairy tale dream, all right? At that point, at some point, if all you do is keep your goals and your dreams in your mind, they become a distraction because then you just keep your eyes here. All you do is just dream and fantasize, but now you're at a distraction because you never take steps, right? When we keep it in our mind, guess what? We prevent ourselves from taking real world action. Back to that moving the needle. We prevent ourselves from moving the needle. So having those goals and those dreams and visions and all that are really, really nice. But when you keep them so safe in the vault of your mind, free of risk, free of failure, free of criticism, they never get to be manifested into the real world. They never get to come into their human form, their real life form. They never get to be in a place where they actually can bloom and grow and blossom. And like I said, at some point, it becomes your distraction because you're not moving. And I just want to throw this in here. I don't know about you, but one thing I've learned is that if God keeps placing that dream and goal on your heart, stop ignoring it. Stop ignoring it, please.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Take the step. God has told me so many things, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'll write it down. Cool. I'll come back to it later. I'll wait till the time is perfect. And I'm like, dang, this idea has popped up in my head like 5 times in the last year. And it's popped up in my head every single year. Maybe it's time to act on it. Just to help fulfill. And lastly, I said it, waiting on the right time. I use the easiest for last. When I say easiest, obviously people wait for the right time. Obviously you and I like to wait on the right time, or we used to. We're overcoming that. I see you, girl. I see you. But we wait on the right time. And as always, guys, waiting on the right time is a myth. It's not real. There is no real right time. There will always be a hiccup or a bump in the road, right? I use the example of some people, yes, heal, go on, work at your traumas, go to therapy, before you find yourself in a new relationship, especially if you went through a breakup or something. But at some point, you can't heal yourself to perfect before you get into a relationship. And I had a friend that did this or wanted to do this. And I was like, you do know you're going to go through things when you get into a relationship. Trauma's going to hit. Things are going to happen, trials and tribulations. And you're trying to make yourself so perfect that no hiccups or nothing's going to ever happen to you again. And that's not how that works. Get yourself to a place where you're healed and whole, and you're not looking for another half because you're a whole of a person. Get yourself where God will always be the center of your heart over that person, and that you can have the mindset that this will be a God-centered relationship. Get yourself where you're mentally, physically, emotionally in a good and healthy, sound place. But don't over perfect yourself or over wait for the perfect time where there will be no more trials and tribulations, and your relationship would be a piece of cake, because that won't be it. And here are some things that I've noticed with waiting for the perfect time. There are some subsections or sub reasons why we do it. All of them really don't have a standing, lasting reason or excuse. But here are things that I have told myself in different seasons that all fell under waiting for the perfect time. One, I felt entitled to know the how and the why before I took steps. So maybe for you, your perfect time is not, oh, on this date when the sky is out, it's not raining, it's not that. But your perfect time is when you get more understanding, more clarity on the journey, on the vision or the goal before you take your first step. And I'm telling you right now, that will never cause you to take a step. You might find yourself back at the other tips. You might find yourself over planning. You might find yourself hoarding knowledge. You might find yourself eventually just shoving yourself down the wrong path or journey, because that has more clarity, because someone's already walked their own journey. They walked their own purpose and assignment. But yours, because you haven't put any work into it, because you're waiting on everything at step one, there's no clarity, there's uncertainty. So you don't want to work through that. You don't want to walk through the fog. You don't want to walk on the unpaved path. Another one is just being idle and calling it self-care. And what I mean by sitting idle and calling it self-care is, yes, rest. Yes, don't burn yourself out in the pursuit of a journey that's actually yours, the assignment God actually gave you. But at the same time, you have to realize that, yes, it's good to rest. God wants us to rest, but sometimes we overdo it. Oh, it was a long day. I need to rest. I need to rest. I need to rest. You rest so much that you haven't even started. You rest so much that you delayed your progress. And I went through this. I went through this hyper-focused phase, this hyper always got to do it, this busyness period. And then I burnt myself out. And once I came back and I was ready and rejuvenated, I felt like every little thing required rest. At every turn, I needed rest. I just wanted to sit idle. But at some point, there are going to be times where you don't turn on the show, you actually turn on the computer and do the work. There are going to be times where it's not going to be a self-care night. Also has to look like pursuing your dreams, holding true to your promises. Sometimes we have to add an extra definition of self-care of keeping the promises we made to ourselves and God, not just pampering ourselves and getting extra rest. And lastly, waiting on the perfect season when God gave you the seeds right now. A lot of us, imagine being a farmer and someone gives you seeds and say, plant these right now. But you don't want to plant them in the season, so you hold them in your pocket until whenever. And it's like, if God already placed it in your heart, you have the goal, you have the vision, you have X, Y, Z. Why are you holding the seeds in your pocket? Why are you holding on to the talents as if you're not wasting them at that point? You're putting them in the wrong place. Maybe you're just, like I said, holding them in your pocket. You don't want to share them with the world. I think about the parable of was it a king? Whatever. The gentleman who gave 3 servants money. He gave them each money and he said, when I come back, this, that, and the other, you're supposed to give me what you came back with. Well, one guy, he started a business. Another one, let's just say they came back with triple the profit, double the profit. Well, the third gentleman, guess what? He said, well, I didn't want to waste your money, so I buried it. And the king, if that was a king, he was pissed. He was like, you did not do what I asked you to do. I asked you to be wise with my money. You buried it, so I won't lose it, okay? But look at the first man. Look at the second one. They came back with tenfold of what I gave them because they went out and used their money wisely. You thought you were protecting something. You thought you were protecting your gift. You thought you were protecting what you have by burying it, but you're not. You look foolish. All right, guys. As always, I pray one thing from this episode resonates with you. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we're picking up right back here with tips to overcome these things. All right. See ya. Talk to you later.